listeners. This is LB presenting part 2 of my podcast with drag artist Neon. Welcome back, Neon.
Thanks, Lily. Thanks for having me back for part 2.
It's great to have you back, Neon. So now, let's do some quick fire questions.
Okay.
What music do you use in your live shows?
I mean, variety, but I'm quite a fan of the camp music. So like ABBA, for example. And I also like a bit of Cher, because who doesn't like Cher?
Why not? So what genres do you use?
Oh yeah, camp isn't a genre. So I tend to use pop, and also I use rock a little bit as well.
So which gets a better audience response and better engagement?
So surprisingly, I mean, it depends how you advertise it and things like that, but pop gets quite a good response. Rock can get a good response if you advertise it correctly.
So do you use songs like or like What's been your best experience?
Oh, okay, so my best experience actually was when everything was going really, really well. Performed, I was also doing the comparing, hosting and things for that event as well, which at the end of it, we actually kind of got a standing ovation, and it was a sellout event, which was actually really, really nice to do, and it allowed me to kind of bring on all the performers, and because people actually enjoyed it so much, they actually chose to donate a little bit more as well, so it actually meant we actually got to walk away with a little bit more money than actually was intended, which of course is always nice, you know, 'cause it doesn't happen very often.
It does sound nice, but now moving on. What's your worst experience?
I knew you was going to ask that, and this is a bit which everyone's like, ooh, I wonder what the worst experience is. And believe me when I say I have had many. But there was one experience where I nearly fell through the stage, which, must admit, not very good for your body confidence. But they didn't actually tell us that part of the stage was broken. It had this really, really big stage. And they didn't tell us that part of it was broken underneath. And it was only when I came on and felt the stage kind of bow and then creak that I was like, maybe let's not do that. So I ended up having like this tiny little square to perform because the rest of the stage was basically falling apart, and I didn't want to be that performer which falls through the stage. Although I must admit, now that I think back on it, it probably would make a great TikTok promotion, wouldn't it?
It would be a hell of a show.
It really, really would. But then I think when I'm performing, it would just be people trying to pull me out of a wooden stage. But which, you know, might be interesting unto itself. But I said that is even just one experience. There's been other experiences where, now, I don't know if, like, you know this, but one of the cardinal rules of performing is don't interrupt a performer when they're performing. I worked with an established venue who thought it would be fun in the middle of a performance to cut all the music and everything just so they could walk up onto the stage, talk to me in the middle of a performance. And I know it sounds outrageous.
It does, yes.
I know, and all they wanted to ask me was, when do you think you'll be done? So I know. So and the irony of that was, I would have been done in 2 minutes, but because you have just disturbed my mix, I'm now going to start all over again. So I'll be done in 10. So I actually chose not to go back to that venue.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, exactly. That's like, you know, the cardinal rule. Don't interrupt a performance. Wait until after. But I've also had many costume malfunctions as well, which...
Yeah, I'd love to hear about some of those.
I mean, I will keep it PG because...
Yes, let's please.
Obviously, costume malfunctions are not always PG. But I've had costumes rip. I've had... like I said, that's going to sound really bad when I say things fall out, but not like that. But you know, costume malfunctions do eventually, obviously, catch all of us. There's no planning for them, and you kind of just have to go with it. And sometimes that means making sure you stand facing forward. Because you don't want people to see where your costume's broken in the back. So unfortunately, and then you just have to like side shuffle off the stage when you're done, you know, and then side shuffle into the side room. So there's been quite, a few, I wouldn't say worst ones, but, there's been a few very memorable ones. But I also think that also helps you grow as a performer because, you do have to roll with the punches and things when things like that happen.
It's the joy of performing.
Exactly. It's very, very unexpected, and I mean, the other thing that I really think people should prepare for as well is the stage is really, really warm when you've got lights on you. And
Yes, it is.
yeah, particularly if you're towards the end of the night, you will find out how much people sweat. So you've got to be very, very careful to not slip on somebody's sweat on the stage, which sounds absolutely gross, but unfortunately that's the part which nobody tells you.
You'd have to come along and bring a sweat scraper.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I must admit, there was one time where there was actually, I wouldn't say a lot of sweat, but there was enough, where I literally was like, 1 second, I'm just going to go grab a towel. And I was like, there you go, now I will do it. Oh dear. And to be fair, people thought it was actually quite funny, whereas me, I was just like, great, now I can perform and not fall off the stage into, the audience, because that is not something I would want to do, because like I said earlier, I do want a functioning back, and falling off the stage where it's a few feet off the ground, it wouldn't be very comfortable. So even though the audience would probably be like, yay, that was amazing. but, all these things you have to kind of bear in mind when you're performing or even running an event. You will never be prepared for absolutely everything, because things will always go wrong.
So you said that your costumes rip. Who helped you with your wardrobe on stage?
Well, interestingly, I mean, on stage, nobody helps me on stage, so I kind of have to sometimes play it off. It depends what rips. So sometimes I have accidentally, for example, flashed a nipple. But, that I can kind of play off a bit more.
I just have to ask, is that a fake nipple or is that a real nipple?
So, I mean, that is a very good question, and it honestly depends. I mean, sometimes it has been a fake nipple, other times it's been a real nipple. But, you sometimes have to play it off, and it depends where it's ripped. But I've had a dress before now rip pretty much down the back, and I did not want to flash my butt to somebody. So I kind of had to stay, like I said, facing forward and whatnot, and do the side shuffle. But luckily, when I get off the stage, there is usually a great bunch of people that I work with which can help me with the outfit. And now that I've always learned as well to always bring a spare outfit, just in case something happens.
So how many performers do you work with on stage?
So that's actually a very good question as well. So there's actually 12 performers, which kind of I help oversee and whatnot, and can be involved with shows. They range from other drag performers, singers, some people which play instruments, there's other people which are comedians. That's just the performers. The other side of it is we have 2 tech engineers, as in sound tech engineers. We also have 2 lighting engineers as well. And we also carry all our equipment, so all our lighting, all our sound and things like that. So altogether, there is about 20 people which usually help me put on the show. And as you can imagine, it keeps me very busy trying to keep them in check.
Yes, I can imagine. So what final bits of advice can you give people wanting to set up events and performers?
So my final bit of advice would be to, first of all, potentially be prepared to make a loss on your first event, because you have to get the word out. The biggest advice, and the things I think every person needs to know, whether just setting up, whether they're established, is be very respectful of people, because everyone there is stressed, everyone there is doing their best. Make sure that you are respectful to both the venue, because a bad attitude will lose you a gig a lot quicker than your skill.